Okay, so we'll start our Vinyasa flow class. This is a more active athletic class. If you're looking for something slower, go to yin, deep stretch. Okay, so today we'll start on our backs. If you have a block, that would be nice. If you don't, I'll give you an alternative. So if you do, just set the block next to the hips, come down onto your back, soles of the feet on the mat. So if you don't have a block, bring the feet wide and the knees together, arms down by the sides. If you do have a block, feet are hip width distance apart. We're starting in supported bridge. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, slide the block underneath the hips. Either go lowest height, or if you're really comfortable with back bends, you could go up to the medium height, but don't go to the tallest height. This is our first pose. We want it to be gentle. Take a deep breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. 2 more like that. Deep breath in, slow breath out. Again, inhale in through the nose and right back out. Keep going with this breath on your own. If you're on the block and supported bridge, you might start to feel the back bend take shape. Maybe you feel that inversion happening. Tailbones pointing up between the knees. You're toning the belly a little bit. Chest is lifted. So shoulder blades are underneath you and outer upper arms are pressing down into the mat. Hands are just relaxed. And if you don't have a block underneath you, you're feeling that spreading across the lower back with the feet wide and the knees touching. Couple more breaths here. Then press into the feet, lift the hips up, slide the block out from underneath you, bring the hips back down to the mat. If you have the feet wide and the knees together, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. We'll all hug the right knee in toward the chest. Leave that left foot on the mat. That's what helps you open up the lower back. Once you extend it forward, you start to take away space from the lower back. So we keep it on the mat for this one. And set the right foot down, hug the left knee in toward the chest. You also can't bring that left knee in as much with the right foot down on the mat. So that's the other thing. Now bring both knees in toward the chest, which you'll be able to bring them in a little bit more. Maybe rock side to side. If you have the block, take it, put it the narrow way between the knees, keeping the knees up. You're just squeezing the block between the knees and the thighs. If you don't have a block, it's not a big deal. Knees are all the way together and you're trying to keep some activation of the inner thighs, inner knees. So arms go out to the side. They either can be in a T shape or you can bend at the elbows, cactusing the arms. It's really a matter of comfort. So see which one feels better to you. We're not really going to be doing anything with the upper body other than keeping both shoulder blades on the mat. So squeeze the block if you have it, or squeeze the knees. Start to bring the knees over a third of the way to the right. Try to keep that left shoulder on the mat, belly hugging in, so you're not arching the lower back too much. Come back to center, keep squeezing the block and the knees, come over to the left about a third of the way, belly hugs in, shoulder blades on the mat. You're trying not to let that lower back take on any of this. Come back to center, go over to the right, hug the core in. This is way more core than anything else. Keep squeezing the thighs. Come back to center, over to the left, just a third of the way. So you're not going very far. It's just enough so you can get that control. Come back to center, over to the right, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Bring it back to center, over to the left. Come back to center. If you're using the block, set it down off to the side of the mat. Keep the knees up. Interlace the fingers back behind the head. Rest the head in the hands. And then bring the knees in, the head up toward the knees like you're coming into a crunch. And then set the feet back down to the mat, head down to the mat. And we'll keep going that way, reverse crunches. So lift the legs, bring the head in toward the legs, and then set it all down on the inhale. Exhale, curl. Inhale, set the feet down, head down. Exhale, curl. Inhale, rest. Exhale, curl. Inhale, rest. Two more like this. Exhale, curl. Inhale, rest. Last one. Exhale, curl. Stay up. Reach the legs straight up to the sky. Reach the arms up toward the sky. Try to keep the hands in line with the shoulders and the feet in line with the hips. The arms and the legs will naturally want to go toward one another. And then lift up as high as you can with the upper body. Then lift the lower body, the hips, without moving the legs closer. So it's hardly lifting at all, but you definitely feel it in your core as you reach up and hug the knees in toward the chest. Rest the head down. Rock side to side. Set the feet down to the mat. Roll over to your right side. Use the hands to bring yourself up to seated. If you have that block, just bring it forward. Come forward to hands and knees. Tabletop. But let's bring the knees and the feet all the way together. Toes are tucked underneath you. Start to walk the hands back, coming into a toe tuck. So make sure the fourth and fifth toe are going straight forward. Some of us, we have to manually make that happen. Maybe you sit up onto the heels, chest is lifted, and you're in the fullest version of the toe tuck. If your feet are tight and this isn't happening, then just keep the hands down in front of you and you decide how much weight you want to put on the feet. If you're up and the hands are free, I'll give you a wrist opening. So left palm facing forward, grab onto those four fingers with the right hand and start to bend the fingers back, keeping the wrist in line with the elbow and feeling that opening happen at the front of that left wrist. So toes in that left hand are doing the same thing. Then gently release, grab onto the thumb, the left thumb with maybe a couple of fingers. Apply some pressure there. That feels like a nice opening in your body. And switching sides. Right forefingers, press those back. Wrist in line with the elbow so you get that nice opening. Definitely with your Ujjayi breath. And come to the thumb, the right thumb. And bring the hands back down to the mat, tops of the feet to the mat, sit back onto the heels. And then from here, bring the hands down outside of the knees on the mat. You can stay right where you are. You already are getting a nice opening at the top of the foot, or maybe you play with getting into the ankles, lifting the knees up in toward the chest. You go as high as you want, as long as you want. Skip it if it's not working. Try not to hold your breath. And set the knees back down to the mat. Walk the hands forward, tabletop. And from here, we'll do cat-cow, but let's stay with the wrists. So you can either turn the fingertips to point toward the sides of the mat or turn the hands all the way around so the fingertips point toward the knees, whichever one feels better. On the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. On the exhale, round the spine, chin in toward the chest. Keep going at your own pace. Pressing into the whole hand, all 10 fingertips, and the heel of the hand. One more, forward and back. Back to a neutral spine. Turn the hands back around so the fingertips point toward the top of the mat. Come down onto the forearms, step the feet back behind you, forearm plank. So legs are long, chest is reaching forward. You're pushing the mat away from you with the forearms and the hands, but you're trying to activate all the leg muscles. So tops of the thighs lift, belly hugs in, chest is reaching forward. Breath is steady here, as steady as we can get it. Even if things are shaking, see if you can keep the breath strong. Then set the hips down to the mat, rest the head down. So maybe you stack the hands, bring the forehead down to the hands. Lift the head back up, bend that right leg. You can leave the left forearm in front of you, reach back, see if you can grab the right foot, bringing it in toward the glutes. Right knee's pointing straight back. It's not going out to the side. Head can rest down on the arm or it can stay lifted. That's more of a back bend, which could be nice for the start of your practice. Gently release that foot, switch sides. Right forearm comes in front of the face, bend that left knee, bring the left foot in toward the glute. Gently release the foot back down, hands to the lower, by the lower ribs on the mat. Tops of the feet press down, inhale up, cobra. Exhale, release. You can keep these small. Inhale up, cobra or low. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale up, cobra. Exhale, release. Come back up to hands and knees. Take child's pose. Big toes together. Sit the hips back. Forehead comes down to the mat. Crawl the hands forward, especially if the hips are low, going toward the heels. If the hips are high, you don't have to crawl them that forward. Just find a comfortable place in your balasana. Shift forward to hands and knees, back to tabletop. You'll need to stack the shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. This time, step the right foot back behind you. Spin that right heel down flat. Maybe kick that left foot out to the left so it's off of the mat. Left hand can also go to the left so it's outside the shoulder. Reach the right arm up. Coming into a modified version of side plank. Let's keep the right foot down for now, just so you can get your foundation, hugging that outer left hip in, feeling the stretch as you reach up with that right arm. Then maybe you start to play with floating that right leg up, toes point straight forward on the right foot. Reach back with the right arm, like you're reaching for the foot, keep the leg long, and then point the toes. Bend that right knee. See if you can connect the foot with the hands. If you have it, lengthen the chest, hug the core in, get that stretch in the quad, also in the shoulder. So that foot's kicking into the hand back into the foot. Release the foot if you have it. Right arm reaches straight up to the sky. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Right knee comes down to the mat. Left toe step back behind you. Spin that left heel down flat. You need to walk it back a little bit. Right foot kicks out to the right off the mat. Right hand outside of the shoulder to the right. Lift the left arm up, just straight up. Left foot is pressing down on the mat, so you feel really long in the left side body, but also the right. Hug that outer right hip in. Maybe you lift the left leg up to hip height. You're flexing that left foot, pressing it away from you so you keep the leg strong. Once you have that happening, keep it. Point the toes on the left foot. Reach back with the left arm. Bend the left leg. See if you can connect the hand and the foot. Pressing the hand into the foot back into the hand, get long in the front side of the body. Tailbone and pubic bone are still going toward one another. So there is a bit of a back bend, but you have your pelvis in alignment at the same time. Gently release that left foot. Left arm goes back up to the sky. With control, bring that left hand back down to the mat. Left knee down to the mat. Walk the hands forward ahead of the shoulders. Tuck the toes underneath you. Lift the hips up and back. First downward facing dog. Any movement you like in this first one. From downward facing dog, look forward to the top of the mat, bend the knees. Let's walk the feet up to the hands. Take a bunch of steps to get there, small ones. Once you get to the top of the mat, inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. 2 more like that. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. This time, circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead on the exhale, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Heel toe the feet to the outer edges of the mat, so it's a wider stance. Clasp opposite elbows, let the head and the neck go. If you want to bend in the knees, take one. If you have any lower back stuff, it's a good idea to take a bend in the knees. And if the backside of the legs are tight, you want to bend in the knees. None of that's happening. It feels good to have the legs straighter, then do that. Just get heavier in the balls of the feet and light in the heels. Switch the grip of the elbows. Bring the other forearm in front. Nod the head yes a couple of times. No a couple of times. So we're lengthening the backside of the body. Then hands come to the mat. Bring the hands between the feet. So your feet are wider, hands between the feet. You can bend the knees as much as you want to get the hands down flat. Fingertips in line with the toe tips. Step the left foot back behind you, coming into a wide runner's lunge. So chest is reaching forward. Shoulders are right over the wrists. And now we're starting to get into that right hip. If it's too much, you can always bring the left knee down. If it feels good, keep the back knee up to you. Look down at the mat. Left foot's coming back to where it was. Step the left foot outside of the left hand. You're back in that wider legged forward fold, and we're switching sides. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Right foot steps back. Wide lizard lunge, hands still underneath the shoulders, chest reaching forward. So if you round the upper back, you take away some of the hip opening. So see if you can keep the chest reaching forward. If the mat feels too low, you could also bring blocks underneath the hands to lift everything up. Look down at the mat. Right foot steps up outside of the right hand. Heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat slowly. Inhale up for cobra. Exhale, release, downward facing dog. Either plank or hands and knees to get to your downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, hop, bring the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Arms circle all the way up on the inhale. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. So using these Surya A's to warm up the body, start to get it prepped for more poses ahead. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Arms rise all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. So legs are strong and lifted, belly hugs in. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, looking to the top of the mat. Bring the feet up lightly. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Arms come all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands down, back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, down dog. We'll start to move and get into our flow for today. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Arms rise all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Heel toe the feet wide to the outer edges of the mat. Hands between the feet. Bend the knees as much as you need to. It's the same thing we did before. Left foot steps back behind you. You're in that wide lizard lunge. Chest is reaching forward. Step that left foot up outside of the left hand. Switch sides. Right foot steps back. Wide lizard lunge. This time, right foot steps up outside of the right hand, yogi squat. So heels can come in, toes can turn out, bring the hips down. Maybe the hands lift if you can keep the whole foot down on the mat. So heels need to be heavy, chest can be lifted. If the heels are lifted, then just keep the hands down in front of you with the heels lifted, keep the spine long. So that's the goal. Try to take any rounding out of the spine, no matter where you are. Hands come down to the mat if they're lifted, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet back to hip width, inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold fingertips to the mat, step the left foot back behind you, regular runner's lunge. So feet are hip width distance apart, not wide. Come up for crescent pose. Take your time. And then let's hook the thumbs in your crescent pose. So you're hooking the thumbs, fingers are spread wide. This helps you widen across the shoulder blades and keep the arms straight at the same time. Shoulders are still moving away from the ears. You're hugging those elbows in and you feel that firmness in the arms as you straighten the arms because it's like you're trying to pull the arms apart, but you can't because of the way the thumbs are hooked. We're taking this to warrior two. You'll release the arms, spin that left heel down flat. Right foot needs to come in a little bit. Lengthen that right thigh away from you. Keep the chest lifted, legs low. Dig down into that front heel, outer edge of the back foot. Flip the front palm up. Reach up and back, reverse warrior. Lunge, lunge, lunge in that front leg. You won't be here much longer. Listen up. Keep reaching up and back, turn the right toes in to face the side of the mat, turn the left toes out, left forearm, left thigh, you're still reaching up and over, extended side angle facing the back of the mat. Upper body was already there. Then come up to standing, legs are straight. Turn those left toes in to face the side of the mat, hands to the hips. Fold forward halfway, Hands come down in front of the shoulders. Wide-legged forward fold. So maybe the fingertips come in line with the toe tips. Let the head and the neck go. Just make sure the heels aren't heavy. If your heels are the heaviest part of your foot, that means your hips are too far back. So you need to shift them forward until you feel like the weight is evenly distributed between the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. All these great cues, because most of us can't see ourselves while we're practicing. Some of us have a mirror and we can kind of spot check here and there, but it's nice to know how to get there without that visual and just sharpen your proprioception. Bring the hands forward, fingertips underneath the shoulders. So you lift the chest up halfway, turn the toes to the top of the mat, finding your runner's lunge, right foot forward, step the left foot up to meet the right. Inhale up halfway. Fingertips down to the mat. Right foot steps back, feet hip width distance apart. Rise up when you're ready, crescent pose. So you want that back leg to be supporting weight. Sometimes when we have one foot forward, all the weight goes into the front leg. So keep that even. Hook the thumbs the other way. So there's one way that's comfortable and there's the other way that feels unusual. Do it that way. Check it out, see what's different. You have a groove, right, in your body that you figured out. You know you like the thumbs hooked the other way. Now we're switching that pattern, maybe shaking things up in the brain a little bit. Straighten the arms, like you're trying to pull the arms apart. You'll feel that width across the shoulder blades at the same time. So the upper body feels engaged, core is hugging in. Separate the hands, warrior two. Spin that right heel down flat, heel toe that left foot in. Nice long stance, but make sure you can still press down to the outer edge of the back foot, heel of the front foot evenly. Flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse warrior, still keeping that deep lunge in the front leg. Upper body stays the same. Just turn those left toes in, right toes out, right forearm, right thigh, side angle pose, Parsvakonasana, arm reaching up and over the ear. Come up to standing facing the side of the mat, legs straight. Turn those right toes in, hands to the hips, fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders. Maybe walk the hands back so fingertips are in line with the toe tips. Head can come down, shoulders up toward the ears. Find the weight even between the balls and the heels of the feet. And lift the muscles in the legs. Keep them working. Walk the hands forward, fingertips underneath the shoulders to lift the chest up halfway. Turn the toes to the top of the mat, runner's lunge facing forward. Right foot steps up to meet the left foot. Inhale up halfway. Bend the knees, hands to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Optional vinyasa on the way back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. So we'll add on. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Widen the feet, outer edges of the mat. Hands between the feet, bend the knees as much as you need to. Left foot steps back behind you, wide lizard lunge, chest reaching forward. The right inner knee and the right arm are touching, pressing into one another. Look down, left foot outside of the left hand, switch sides, right foot steps back. Reach the chest forward. Look back down at the mat, right foot comes outside the right hand, yogi squat, malasana. And you might see a change, especially if you can't get all the way into it as we go through this flow and the hips start to become more open. So that can be a fun thing to observe. Bring the hands down to the mat, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold fingertips to the mat. Step the left foot back behind you, feet hip width. Take it up to crescent pose. Hook the thumbs. Feel that upper body engage. Warrior two. Left hip pushes the right hip forward. That also helps you keep that length in the torso. Flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse warrior. Deep lunge in that front knee. You know you're about to go the other way anyway. So as you're reaching up and back, turn those right toes in, angle the left toes out, left forearm, left thigh. Keep reaching that right arm up and over. Maybe you slide this left hand down to the ankle. Right arm can reach up to the sky. Straighten the front leg, triangle pose. Left hand can come up if it's too low. Don't feel like you have to stay there. Gaze can go up with the top hand or down at the bottom foot. Come back up to standing slowly with control. Hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in. Hands on the hips, fold forward halfway. Slide the hands down outside of the legs. Maybe they go down to the ankles. Maybe you like grabbing the big toes with the first two fingers and the thumb, flaring out the elbows, letting the head and the neck go. Legs and muscles in the legs are lifted. Hands right in front of the shoulders, lift the chest up halfway, turn the toes to the top of the mat, widen the stance, step that left foot up to meet the right foot, inhale up halfway, exhale, fold, right foot steps back behind you, feet hip width distance apart, rise up, crescent pose, hooking the thumbs the other way. Warrior two. Flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse warrior. Turn those left toes in, right toes out, forearm to thigh, up and over with that left arm, extended side angle, Parsvakonasana. Right hips, is hugging in, it's not sticking out. And then maybe you slide that right hand down to the ankle. It's just an option if it's working. Left arm reaches up, so you're in side angle pose. Chest is opening up toward the sky. Play with straightening the front leg. You can always bring that right hand up higher on the leg, more toward the shin, especially if that helps you keep the hips in control. Sometimes we reach down so low that the hips shift way back behind us. Slowly with control, come back up to standing. Arms out wide, turn those right toes in. So toes are facing the side of the mat, hands to the hips, fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders. And then walk the hands back, fingertips in line with the toe tips, or you can grab the outer edges of the legs, whichever one's feeling better. Let the head and the neck go. Hands come underneath the shoulders, lift the chest up halfway, turn the toes to the top of the mat, widen the stance, right foot steps up to meet the left foot. Inhale up halfway, exhale, fold, hands to the mat. Vinyasa if you want one. If you want to skip it, you can stay in a forward fold. We'll be back there after we flow through. Bend the elbows, lift the chest for your back bend, exhale back. Downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, bring the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Moving on, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Widen the stance of the feet, feet to the outer edges of the mat, hands down between the feet, bend the knees as much as you need to. Left foot steps back behind you, wide lizard lunge, but this time set the back knee down to the mat. Get it as far back as you can. So once it touches, can you tuck the toes and scoot it back any further? Left hand underneath the left shoulder, right hand, right hip, open the chest to the right. So it feels like a twist in this wide lunge. Shoulders away from the ears. You could play with bending that back knee, pointing the toes, reaching back, seeing if the foot's there. If it is, grab it, bring it in. You can bend the elbow to do that. Still in the twist, getting deeper into the quad. Gently release the foot if you have it. Right hand inside the right foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. You might need to hop it in a little bit because we stretched it so far back. Left foot steps forward outside the left hand. Right foot steps back. Keep the chest forward. Set the back knee down. Once it touches, see if you can get it a little further back. Left hand, left hip. Open the chest to the left. Feel that twist in the spine. Right hand underneath the right shoulder. Maybe the right foot comes in toward the body, pointing the toes, reaching back, grabbing the foot. If you can't connect the hand and the foot, then just keep the left hand on the hip and stay in the twist. That's still a nice hip opening. And then you don't have to worry about having a permanent cramp in that right hamstring. Not worth it. Okay, if you have the foot, gently release. We all bring the left hand down to the mat inside of the left foot, tuck the back toes, maybe hop that back foot in a little bit, step the right foot forward outside the right hand, Malasana yogi squat, some version of it. Noticing how it's changing. We've been doing a lot of hip opening flows, I'm realizing. Hands come down to the mat, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Left foot steps back behind you. Crescent pose. Arms up, hook the thumbs the way you like. Open it up, warrior two. Inhale, reach the right arm up and back. Reverse warrior, keep breathing. Turn those right toes in, angle the left toes out, left forearm, left thigh, right arm reaches up and over. This time, maybe the left hand comes outside the left foot. You can even stay on the fingertips. Reach the right arm up to the sky. Chest is still opening. Look down at the left foot. Reach forward as far as you can ahead of those left pinky toes. So I'm shifting forward onto the ball of the back foot. Then shift the weight to the left leg, coming into half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. So belly hugs in, chest opens, you press out through all four limbs and the crown of the head. Maybe you reach back with the right arm, bend the right leg, pointing the toes and grabbing the foot. Can always lift that left hand up. It can go on a block. It doesn't even have to touch the mat. If you have the foot, press the hand into the foot into the hand. That left sit bone is pointing straight back. That's so much control on the standing hip to make that happen and the muscles in the leg. Chest is going forward. Gently release the foot if you have it. Your exit is triangle. Bend the standing leg, reach back with that right foot. Left hand comes to the shin, ankle, block, right arm reaches up, Trikonasana. Come up to standing, hands to the hips, turn the left toes in. Fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders. This time, turn the fingertips to point behind you. Walk the hands back, maybe even behind the feet. Let the head and the neck go. Try not to get heavy in the heels. Hands come forward, right underneath the shoulders. Lift the chest up halfway. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Widen the feet. Left foot steps up to meet the right foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Step the right foot back behind you. Feet hip width. Come back up, crescent pose. Hooking the thumbs the opposite way. Maybe you're getting so comfortable you can't tell which way you really prefer. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm up, reach up and back, reverse warrior. Turn those left toes in, right toes out, right forearm, right thigh. Parshvakonasana, extended side angle. So that outer right hip's in line with the body. It's not sticking out. Maybe that right hand goes down outside the right foot. Left arm reaches up to the sky. Chest is open. Look down at the right toes. Reach forward ahead of the right pinky toes. Shift forward onto the ball of the back foot. You could take a couple of hops before you lift that leg up. So don't feel like it has to be one big movement. Then once you get it, point that right sit bone back. Right leg is a pillar of strength. Maybe you reach back with the left arm, bend the left leg, pointing the toes. See if the hand and the foot connect for Chapasana. Then press the hand into the foot into the hand. The chest reaches forward. You can get light in that bottom hand if you want to. If you have it, gently release. Back to half moon, extending the leg. Make your way to triangle pose. Take your time, tinker with it. Try to stay as steady as you can as you land back, straightening the foot, finding a good place for that right hand. Press yourself up to standing. Hands come to the hips. Turn the right toes in. Fold forward halfway. Hands down in front of the shoulders. Fold all the way down. Maybe you turn the fingertips to point behind you. Walk the hands back. Head, top of the head might touch down on the mat, but shoulders don't sink down toward the mat. They're going toward the hips. Bring the hands back forward, fingertips underneath the chest, lifting it up halfway. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step the right foot up to meet the left. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, full, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Vinyasa, if you want one, on the way back to downward facing dog. So hips are really open today. Maybe single pigeon is a good idea. If it's not, come onto your back and do thread the needle. If you'd like to try single pigeon from downward facing dog, lift the right leg up and back. Bring that right shin forward behind the forearms or somewhere in that direction. Scoot the left hip back and then bring the hands outside the hips. You're keeping the chest lifted. Squeeze the hips together. You'll feel a lift. It'll also level off the hips. And then you can start to walk the hands forward, maybe coming down onto the forearms. You just want to make sure you don't feel anything in the right knee. And if the shin wants to go forward, that's fine, but don't force it. That right foot can be by the left hip. It's actually more important to get that right knee outside of the torso so you get into the right hip. If it's just underneath the chest, it's not as much of a hip opening. Okay, if you're in single pigeon, start to bring yourself back up onto the hands. If you've lowered down, tuck the back toes, lift the back knees, step back, downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet or moving the right leg around, whatever you need to do on the right side to get it ready to switch. Left leg reaches up and back. Bring the left shin through, up behind the forearms. Get that left knee out to the left. Set the back knee down, scoot that right leg back, then rest the top of the foot down on the mat. Right big toes pointing straight back. Squeeze the hips together. So bring the hands to the outer hips. You can get that lift and then start to walk forward, maybe bringing the forearms down to the mat. You could support the left hip with a block if there's enough space, or a blanket, whatever you have around, but filling that gap can be a really nice way to do this pose. And thread the needle is always an option if you're feeling something on this side. So don't feel like you have to do the same thing on both sides. And start to walk the hands back in, lifting the chest up, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step back to downward facing dog, pedal out the feet or move the left leg around. Okay, and our counter is probably not going to be what you think it is. Glide forward to plank pose, lower down halfway, come to up dog. So tops of the feet, straighten the legs, lift the chest. This is such a nice way to shake off a single pigeon. At least I think so. Okay, hug the belly in, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And now we'll come down to the mat. So glide forward to plank pose, lower all the way down to the mat. So you're lying down on your stomach, rest. So stack the hands if that's comfortable, rest the head down. If you were on your back from thread the needle, just come forward onto your stomach. And we'll play with some back bends. So lift the head up, keep the left forearm in front of the face, bend the right leg, grab onto that right foot. Top of the left foot is down on the mat. That leg is strong. Maybe you reach that left arm forward like you're going to shake someone's hand. Some people like to do mudras. It's just shapes poses with the hands. So you could do the index finger and the thumb together. It's just finding that infinite point of wisdom. Okay, so press the right foot into the right hand, lift the chest, just the right leg lifts. It's the same thing we've been practicing. So the right foot presses into the right hand back into the right foot. You don't need to come up too high. And then set the right foot down, set the right leg down, left arm down, and switch sides. So right forearm in front of the face, bend the left leg, reach back, grab for the foot. So option A is just lifting the chest from here and then bringing that foot in toward the glute. You don't even need to lift the thigh. Option B, if you want to take it deeper, reach the right arm forward, maybe a mudra with the hand, press the foot into the hand back into the foot, maybe the thigh lifts, the arm lifts, you're looking forward, reaching the heart forward. Set it all back down, rest.
Left foot comes down, stack the hands, rest the head. Tops of the feet to the mat, they're hip width distance apart. Reach the arms back behind you. This time, squeeze the hands together, bend both legs. Don't touch the feet though. And then lift and spread the chest. See if you can hover the thighs away from the mat. It's so hard if you're not grabbing the ankles or the feet. Hands are squeezing together. Lift, lift, lift the chest. Tailbone still pointing back. And then exhale, release. Rest the head. And maybe you can feel the back, how hard it has to work, like the QL, the lower side, the lower back on the sides of the back. Okay, lift the head, bend the legs, reach back, see if you can grab the top of the foot, the ankle, and then it's up to you if you point or flex the feet. Some of it does depend on where you grab where you're able to connect with the body. There might only be one option. So press the hands and the feet into one another, lift and spread the chest, lift the thighs, Dhanurasana. Some of you might rock a little bit. Try not to let the knees splay. And slowly set it all back down. Release the feet, rest the head. Maybe you stay like this. Maybe you lift the feet up and move the feet side to side. Set the feet down to the mat, hands to the mat, come to child's pose. Big toes together, sit the hips back, forehead down. Arms out in front of you or maybe back behind you. Bring the hands down in front of you so you can lift the head and the chest, feet over to one side, extend the legs out in front of you, come to seated. Just make sure you're not too far back on your mat. Hips are more toward the center of the mat. And let's bring the legs out in front of you. Right sole of the foot comes in toward the mat. In toward the hips. You need to bring it in a little bit more with the hands. Fist width distance between the foot and the leg. Turn around. So open the chest to the right, fingertips back behind you. You can either wrap the left arm around the bent leg or hook the elbow, but those left toes stay up. Look over the right shoulder. Always choosing the options that you feel the most ready for, that bring the most space into the body and help you find the most length in the spine. And you know when you're not being honest with yourself and the ego takes over and it's more of a, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, but you're reaching too far. Bring the gaze back forward, slowly unwind, bring that right leg out in front of you, bring the left foot in, bring it in close, fist width distance between the foot and the leg, left fingertips back behind you, wrap the right arm around the bent leg, unless you're hooking the elbow, sit up as tall as you can, both sit bones pressed down, look back over that left shoulder, or just gaze in the direction that you're twisting in. It doesn't have to be exactly over the left shoulder. We'll all be in a different place. Take an inhale to sit up as tall as you can. Find the twist on the exhale. Keep the body in the twist. Just bring the gaze forward toward those right toes. Unwind the chest. Extend the left leg out in front of you, toes up. Reach the arms all the way up on your inhale. On the exhale, forward fold, Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Rise back up to seated, come all the way down onto your back for Shavasana. Walk the feet in, scoot the hips forward, come down onto your back, legs extend out in front of you, wider than hip width distance. So take up some space. Maybe you lift the chest up to get the shoulder blades underneath you. Arms are a little wide. They're down by the sides, but they're away from the body. So you're not touching anything.
Let the feet flap open. The fingers just naturally curl with the palms facing up. Unclench the jaw. Feel that totally release. And let the breath go back to the way you normally breathe. No effort. I took class on Saturday virtually with one of my favorite teachers in LA, Vinny Marino. And I've heard this before, but I just like the way he said it this week. And he was saying that Shavasana is, some say, is death to our practice. Some also say it's our practice for death. Start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Stretch the arms overhead, getting long on your mat. Walk the feet in, roll over to your right side, cradle the head on the arm if that's comfortable. Using the left hand, bringing yourself up to a comfortable seat. Sitting up tall with the eyes closed. Feeling that new sense of inner peace, hopefully better than when you first started, and recognizing how much movement we need to get to this place of maybe better acceptance for what is, gratitude for the moment. Bring the hands together in front of you, bow the head, take a moment, honor and acknowledge your heart and your spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks so much. Thank you for practicing. See you next time.